All right, so here we are again. It is Tuesday, June 20th, 2023, and another session with the famous, or is that infamous, Unity of Livonia ACIM study group. So we'll get things started tonight and play some music.
I just wanna be happy. I don't wanna feel nasty. I'm trying to turn my vibration around so I can feel fantastic. I'm talking to myself in the mirror. I'm telling me to cheer up. Everyone around got tears of a clown and it's so cold like Siberia. But I do not want negative energy. If you get what you give me positivity. Give it to me. Hey, be different. To change your life. Hey, be different, be nice, just smile. I promise it'll change your life. Be nice, be nice, be nice, be nice. The love you give is the love you get, so be nice and change your life. Be nice, be nice. I got a new direction. I ain't got no time for stressing. I don't wanna carry no bad vibration. I don't wanna be in depression. I just wanna be cool, live my life without the problems. Everybody trying to push me down to the ground, but I ain't living life on the bottom. Cause I do not want negative energy. If you get what you give me positivity. Give it to me. Hey, be different. To change your life. Hey, be different, be nice, just smile. I promise it'll change your life. Be nice, be nice, be nice, be nice. The love you give is the love you get, so be nice and change your life. Be nice. Be nice.
We all could just find a way to fly away, to slip into a brighter day. One step so deaf, so right, go left and do it to 'em right away. I'm talking to all of my leaders. We should just powwow when all of us meet up and fight for each other, not one another. And when we talk, be nice to each other. Be cordial, be glad, be happy, not sad. Stay in your bag, and all of my bangers that bang with they flag. Whether crip or blood, be good to each other, be hood to each other. En la raza, mi casa, su casa. On and on, love that we give and keeps rolling on, rolling on.
Hey, be different, be nice, just smile. I promise it'll change your life. Hey, be different, be nice, just smile. I promise it'll change your life. Hey, be nice. Hey, be nice.
All right, my friends.
Can you see the t-shirt?
Do it again.
Just be nice,
Wow.
party.
Where'd you get that?
It's an organization in Connecticut.
Excellent. What synchronicity. Let's see. Christine, are you there?
Yes, I'm here.
And Hilda, we went ahead and started without you, no offense.
That's okay. It was so slow tonight.
Really?
Took forever.
You mean to log in?
Yes, for me. Yeah.
I gotcha. Gina, will you let Jan in? And Hilda, you good? Hilda? Hildegard's not here.
Is here.
She must be was like muted or something.
I'm here.
Here she is.
I'm
Hey,
here.
partner. Thank you. I hope you'll forgive us. We went ahead and started the show, if you will.
Yeah, that's okay.
Yeah, and the music that I just played is kind of a preview of my sermon this Sunday at Unity Spiritual Center of Lansing. So you'll be able to, if you'd like to join us on YouTube, I'll be sending everybody the YouTube link, I think tomorrow morning that goes out. So I just thought I'd give you a little teaser. The title of my talk is The Possibilities of Practical Spirituality. And I'm using a screensaver. It says where A Course in Miracles meets practical spirituality. And I'll get to elaborate on what I mean by that. I'm honored that they asked me to come and give a talk up in Lansing. So it's interesting. That song was Black Eyed Peas, the lead singer Will I Am, and it featured Snoop Dogg. And I let you guys hear the audio, but Sunday you'll get to see the whole video of the whole thing. And this song was written in 2019. Isn't it interesting that there are a lot of organizations that are talking up, not a lot, but at least Jim and whatever the organization D mentioned, be nice is what love would say. That would, to me, be the simple operating principle of love. And so I'm going to try and explain that in terms of practical spirituality. Dee, what's the name of your organization again?
JustBeNiceParty.com.
Just be nice.
You know, the Democrats and the just a party. Just Be Nice Party.
Oh, you gotta be there Sunday. I think
I'm going to be in New York Sunday. Will you send us the link?
Oh, sure.
Of the replay afterwards?
Yeah. I don't know if it's a replay. I'll start with the link to
No, I won't be. I'm going to be at a family party. I won't be.
But if there's a way to get a recording to you later, I'll work on that as well. Okay.
What time do you start, Jim?
Pardon me?
What time do you start?
It's at 10:30 Sunday morning. My bad. Hey, listen, let me see.
There you go. Pat has one too.
Oh, all right. Same color and everything, Pat?
Yeah.
She's not showing hers? Or?
It's a good, yes, she is. It's a difference. It says be a good human.
I got it on speaker view, so I guess you have to say something for your face to come up. But yeah, there's already a movement to me for practical spirituality. But maybe to connect into A Course in Miracles more. You remember in the Course where it says, this is but one version of the universal curriculum. There are many others. Are you starting to see that? I mean, the BeNice.com. I'm hoping one day there'll be a practicalspirituality.com. Is Snoop Dogg a thug or a preacher? Let those who have eyes see and ears hear. And I think the more I've opened up to the statement that A Course in Miracles is but one version of the universal curriculum, there are many others. And over time, I'm starting to see it everywhere.
Yeah.
Yeah. Hey, Jan, just want to say hello and recognize and say I'm glad you're here. So is there anything else before we go to our readings tonight?
There is, and I don't know if this is appropriate here or not. So if it is, please speak on, and if it's not, let me know too. Sorry that I didn't think of bringing this up yesterday on the day of June 10th, but what are your feelings about it? Is it something you celebrate? Is it something you acknowledge? If you don't mind sharing.
I acknowledge and participate. I may not be out there with a party hat and stuff like that, but I try and acknowledge the secular world, even though I know it's not real. Okay. I try and be a regular person, even though I know I'm not really here. How am I doing, Dee, with answering your question?
Yeah, it can't be a wrong answer. It's coming from your heart. I was asking you personally, and I'm wondering, so thank you for sharing. I really appreciate it.
I participate in holidays and the world calendar enough, not a whole lot. I'm not all that excited in anything. You remember in Earth School, the last teaching was called Never Ending Christmases. I kind of resent the fact we don't have Christmas all year long. What the hell? Why is it only got to? Same with, okay, we don't recognize mothers except Mother's Day, fathers except, like, we'll give you a day. But then I start sounding crazy, but I want you to know, yeah, I do birthdays, holidays, Juneteenth, the whole.
So how would one, you say Merry Christmas, how would one address them? Like if I wanted to recognize that on the day of, like I said, I'm sorry, I didn't think of it yesterday, when we were all together. How would I acknowledge it to you? If you don't mind. I'm trying to get a better grasp of this.
Happy Juneteenth.
Yep.
Okay.
Say happy Juneteenth.
Thank you. That's great. That's perfect.
Merry Christmas. Pat likes that one.
Okay.
Merry Christmas. But these things should be not special. Y'all know what I'm saying? But in the meantime, until we get there, I may not want to do it, but I do it because I love the world too. I love everything. How can I not love the world? It's working for a purpose. I call it Earth School. What's not to love? See, you messing with me. You know I get carried away easily.
I appreciate your answer. Thank you very, very much.
All right, very well. Let's do our reading numbers, okay? I have Nancy number. Is there anyone besides Jan that does not want to read? Hilda, you good tonight? I'm glad your voice. You're saying no? All right. I think you're just getting lazy on us here over.
Right.
Enjoy. All right. Nancy 1, Pat 2, Kathleen 3, Gina 4, D 5, Joan 6, Ron 7, Christine is number 8. Did I leave anyone out? All right, Nancy, it's on you, oh, I'm sorry, I'm off the agenda already, right? I had a question there. Any thoughts on what we've read so far?
Yeah, I was really stuck last time on that very first sentence saying psychotherapy is a process that changes the view of the self. No, not that one. The one that says, no, I'm sorry. Very simply, the purpose of psychotherapy is to remove the blocks to truth. That wasn't it either. I'm going to go back even more to the introduction. I had trouble with the sentence that said, the very first sentence in the introduction, psychotherapy is the only form of therapy there is.
Yeah.
And I realized, oh my gosh, it was such a block. It's like I was going to that not all psychotherapy is spiritual therapy, but really it's as simple as saying it's all of the mind. It's all in the mind. So like here, I did have an aha moment.
Yeah.
It was right there in plain sight and I wasn't getting it.
Listen, for many years, wasn't there a big conflict between religion and evolution? You know, that there were one-celled animals, and then that evolved, and then that changed, and the church said, no, that is not how man got here. God created man and all of that. And then there was a controversy between the church and science. But aren't you seeing the more that we go on is that they're all different approaches to the same realization?
Yeah.
Look at quantum physics. Fundamentally, quantum physics says that matter does not come from matter. Matter is manifested through thoughts, ideas, quanta. And so, isn't that what religion says?
Mm-hmm.
Is that man didn't come from something worldly, but from something beyond. You know, the prefix for beyond is meta. And you've heard the term metaphysics. It's the discussion of beyond the physical, isn't it?
Mm-hmm.
And yet, all these years, they've been fighting for millennia. And the Bible says God will confound the foolish, because what we're starting to find out is all of these disciplines are converging on the same thing. That is that we didn't come from matter. We seem to have come. You can take the smallest atom, right? And divide it and divide it and divide it and divide it. And you still can't find the fundamental particle from which matter came. Who's with me on this? Any
Mhm.
of you agree, or you even know what the heck I'm talking about?
Yes, I am.
Good deal. So the question was, if you get up high enough, you'll see that these are different approaches to truth. You can get there through science. You can get there through evolution. You can get there through religion. You can get there through spirituality. I think you can get there by learning to be nice all the time. Okay, how am I doing, Dee? Did I totally forget the question?
No, it's perfect.
I like this woman. This is great. Any other questions or comments about what we've covered so far? And we haven't done a whole lot, have we? Just a page or two. All right. If that's satisfactory, then why don't we go ahead, and we were going to start with Nancy, and we're on page 2. Everybody has the supplements, right?
Yeah.
Okay, good deal. Go right ahead, Nancy.
We're on page 2, Jim?
Yes, right. The purpose. Yes.
Okay. Yeah, very simply, the purpose of psychotherapy is to remove the blocks to truth. Its aim is to aid the patient in abandoning his fixed delusional system and to begin to reconsider the spurious cause and effect relationships on which it rests. No one in this world escapes fear, but everyone can reconsider its cause and learn to evaluate them correctly. God has given everyone a teacher whose wisdom and help far exceed whatever contributions an earthly therapist can provide. Yet there are times and situations in which an earthly patient-therapist relationship becomes the means through which he offers his greater gifts to both.
We already read this last week.
Yeah, that's what I thought.
That's
Now I'm
not
lost.
the right
Where are
page.
we? Because
Page
my
four.
my
We
pages are different. Where are we?
We're supposed to be on the process of psychotherapy, but we
Page
just read.
Yeah, page
Oh,
4.
that's why I'm
Right,
lost.
yeah.
Okay.
You're right. You're right. You're right. I got. I can't. I'm blaming D.
Okay.
No, we're on page
She'll take the blame.
4. Sorry, sorry. My apologies that we're recording. Anywho, Nancy, can we do
Start
a fresh
again.
start on page 4?
Okay, sounds
It's
good.
not on page 4 for everyone, just so I don't know if that helps.
Number 2, the process of psychotherapy, introduction.
Thank you.
Mhm.
Okay, introduction. Psychotherapy is a process that changes the view of the self. At best, this new self is a more beneficent self-concept, but psychotherapy can hardly be expected to establish reality. That is not its function. If it can make way for reality, it has achieved its ultimate success. Its whole function, in the end, is to help the patient deal with one fundamental error, the belief that anger brings him something he really wants, and that by justifying attack, he is protecting himself. To whatever extent he comes to realize that this is an error, to that extent is he truly saved.
Thank you. Comments, anyone? I get the feeling here he's talking about, it says psychotherapy is a process, but it's not an end goal, but it establishes a more beneficent self-concept. but I get the feeling that's a step toward another end goal. You know what I mean by that? I've seen it before in A Course in Miracles, because, you know, we've learned like all of this stuff, like the Holy Spirit stuff, that's not even the end of it, is it? The Holy Spirit is preliminary, right?
Mhm.
What's the end? Who does the last thing? The end.
God.
God.
Right. And that's that famous final step. So
Right.
the Holy Spirit is purifying perception, right?
Mhm.
Mhm.
Giving us a new self-concept. But reality is not a concept, but a right-minded concept is a major step toward achieving reality.
Mhm.
Somebody else say something.
I think the last sentence is very interesting. To whatever extent he comes to realize that this is an error, to that extent is he truly saved. And they're talking about, I'm assuming, the sentence before, belief in anger and that justifying attack.
Yeah.
Yeah, it brings me to the part in to attack is to attack yourself.
Mhm.
So it's kind of talking about the same stuff again from the big book, just in a different way.
Yeah, that's what's coming across to me. And like I said, I'm trying to read a little ahead, but I've never really studied the supplements. But it's starting to sound like a, let's see, A Course in Miracles is but one presentation of the universal curriculum. Are these supplements going to be another? And
I
could
think
be
I think
nice to
they're
be
not
another?
different or separate from, they're just an addendum to it, like clarifications.
Well, is that what's going on here? I'm not getting that it's trying to clarify the course.
Right? Maybe an emphasis, maybe
Well,
picking out
Yeah,
the
yeah,
important
that's
parts.
right. It's going into some of the specific topics like
Right.
healing and prayer that are discussed previously.
Yeah, to me, it's saying the same thing
yeah. I
as the
think
I
course
think
has
it's,
been saying.
yeah, I think it's saying the same thing, but also showing you can get to the same, you can get the same results in a different fashion. This is just this is just explaining a different fashion on how to get there, as opposed to maybe someone is so out of their realm that they need psychotherapy that so they can even get to the point where they can do the Course in Miracles.
Mhm.
It's like, it's almost like peeling away the onion. It's peeling away the layers so that they can get to the place where they can process even more. It's getting to their true self so that they can start to process.
Yeah, it's approaching their true self through the purification, clarification. What is psychotherapy? It's saying, what is that?
Healing of the mind.
And what is its scope? Didn't it speak to that? Didn't it say psychotherapy is really the only therapy there is?
Yeah,
Yes.
because I think they're saying that was what my realization was from last week. They're saying that anything else is not healing. It's a cure. It's magic. Unless we're really healing our mind.
Yes. And yet the Holy Spirit will even use magic for his purposes or its purposes, you see.
Right, but the purpose still is to heal the mind.
Yeah. Now, do any of you know any psychiatrists, psychologists that utilize Course in Miracles or these supplements in their practice? I do.
Yes, yes. I've been studying something for years called meta psychiatry. Like you said, meta meaning beyond.
Yeah.
And it was a psychiatrist that came to the realization that his patients weren't being healed. And so he started looking into all this world religions and realized the common denominator in regular psychotherapy was that God was being left out. And so he developed metapsychiatry
Mhm.
that really very much like the Course in Miracles.
Have any of you read the Road Less Traveled?
Mhm.
Oh yeah,
It's written by a psychiatrist,
yeah.
and he went more into meta psychiatry, right?
Hmm.
Yeah, that's what it reminded me of. Um, let's see, I see Jan is back with us. Is there anything else in that first paragraph? Oh, I just want to cover attack in any form is never justified. And again, I think it's on Monday nights. I've told you that's something that's been in the forefront of my lifestyle is no matter what happens. I went to the gas station today and got there and it was cash only. Oh, there was a sign on the door and I'm going, oh, really? Okay, well, I'm not going to get 5 of these. Just give me 1 today. That worked out really well because I wasn't upset. I didn't make them upset. I'll have to go back for the other, but it ain't like I don't have time, right? So do you see how reason can stay in play instead of that old Jim that, what? And now I'm upset, right? And all that can do is make me suffer and make somebody else suffer. So I think that principle about attack in any form is never justified. Have any of you tried never attacking no matter what? Oh, well, all I can say is to give a testimonial that says, try it. It works. I've been giving it a serious try, and I can't remember the last time I was angry.
Mhm.
Do any of you think you could ever get to a place like that? I didn't, but you know me when it comes to the Course.
Yeah,
Any of you trying it? Yeah.
I think so. Yeah, because it's so much nicer, so much more fun.
Yeah. I thought it was going to be really hard, but it wasn't all that hard because I just kept doing it for little things or big things or little, it didn't matter what the size, it was the same principle.
Yeah.
You call that non-dualism?
Hmm.
Y'all know non-dualism? Only one thing. And Pat, that makes my life so much easier. I thought it was going to be hard, but it's getting easier and easier. So my testimonial on that. Shall we continue or is there something else?
I'd like to say something.
Yes.
I've tried not judging. Is that the same thing as not attacking?
I think it goes along with judgment, right?
Okay, well, I was not too successful. It's been a few years and I'm more than willing to try it again, but I was not successful.
Yeah, but maybe the success was in recognizing that it didn't work.
Right,
But that doesn't negate the truth. Maybe it just says you got to try again. I mean, a lot of times you don't hit a home run the first time at bat. Maybe it was a single this time. You did it for a while, you tried it, it didn't work. Get up to the plate again. Or
I'll never know unless I try it again.
yeah,
Right.
well,
And that's true for all of us.
is the other way working better for you?
No,
I
I don't have to think about that.
I'm in your corner, Ron. I think it's harder to eliminate judging in our minds because than attacking, because attack is a little more obvious to me. That those free floating ideas that come through my head are not always as easy to corral.
Yeah.
So I think it's hard. We've done it with our bracelets. It's very hard.
What
Yeah.
bracelet?
Go ahead, Dee.
Like a reminder bracelet? Like
Yep.
what would Jesus do or something?
Yep. And every time you catch yourself judging something, you have to take it off the wrist and put it on the other wrist. And if you get to the whole day, that you did pretty good. But what's the goal, Dee? 30 days?
30 days. And it started with the Unity Church where the minister, it's not called the purple bracelet. That's what it got nicknamed. I forget what the real name is. It doesn't matter. It started.
Reminders of
What?
various types.
Say it again.
It's generically, we're in the realm to me of reminders. If I can't do it in my head right now, start with something physical.
Right.
It's just a reminder, or pinch yourself, or stop and count to 10. Every
Yeah,
time
yeah.
this happens, don't forget to stop and count to 10. Aren't those all ways of avoiding the compulsive reactions that we all have been taught?
I'll
Or
tell you, for me, what wound up happening with it, because I thought it'd be really easy to do. It's the idea is no complaining, no gossiping, and no, what's the third one? No complaining,
no
gossiping.
swearing.
Well, whatever.
Wasn't it
You get
judging?
the,
Wasn't it judging?
judging. Anyhow, what wound up happening for me is I thought I could do this for 30 days. And what I came out with is that I never did it. And I came out with a tremendous awareness of myself. Tremendous awareness.
And what was the task? Not to judge?
No complaining, no judging, and no
Gossiping.
gossiping. Thank you.
All right.
For
So
30 days. And if you caught yourself doing, you got to go 30 days straight with the bracelet on one wrist. And
Yeah.
if you catch yourself, you have to change the wrist and start the count from day one again.
is that the same as saying be nice for 30?
That's what it was called, the complaint-free bracelet. That's what.
Hey, you see, we're all saying the same sorts of things.
Absolutely.
But Ron, before we move on, let me backtrack. You were asking about the relationship between attack and judgment, right?
Yes,
Just to be clear, I would say that judgment is always the precursor to any attack. Attack something, you have to judge it. Does that make sense?
Perfectly, yes.
Okay. Good.
Thank you.
Yeah. Everybody okay? Shall we continue?
Sure.
Hey, are we finally up to Pat, right?
Yeah, finally.
Yeah.
Number 2.
All right, dear.
Patients do not enter the therapeutic relationship with this goal in mind. On the contrary, such concepts mean little to them, or they would not need help. Their aim is to be able to retain their self-concept exactly as it is, but without the suffering that it entails. Their whole equilibrium rests on the insane belief that this is possible. And because to the sane mind it is so clearly impossible, what they seek is magic. In illusions, the impossible is easily accomplished, but only at the cost of making illusions true. The patient has already paid this price. Now he wants a better illusion.
That's good. What do y'all say about this? Those in particular that have done this study before.
I say that years ago, way before I was on a spiritual path, that's exactly what I went into psychotherapy for. To get a better illusion, to keep my thoughts, make the other person wrong.
Now, would you rather be right or happy? Can you make me right even if I'm wrong? Come on, therapist. That's what I'm paying you for.
Well, I'll just get a different one then.
Yeah. And I know if I keep looking, I'll find somebody that can give me a better illusion. One
Yeah.
right. Any other comments here? Thank you, Dee. And whoever.
I was going to say, a good therapist doesn't support you in your illusion. She points out to you what your illusion is and lets you, and guides you through the change. She doesn't say, oh, she doesn't give you another option. It's a good therapist will always will work with you to finally get to the point where you look within.
Any other comments on what Kathleen's saying? One aspect of that too that I would add for a good therapist is the recognition that of your willingness to admit that's not right.
Absolutely.
Would you rather be right or happy? Isn't that funny how the course, doesn't the course cover about every damn thing there is?
Yeah, it does.
Or another, and it does it so precisely, and effectively and efficiently. But tell me, how about you? Since I started doing the course, I always feel like I know the answer to stuff. I'm not uncomfortable with questions. It's almost like maybe that's because I don't try and answer them. I let spirit speak through me and answer them. Do you get that feeling that you feel like you know a lot of answers to stuff from doing the course?
Yeah, sure.
Yeah.
Yeah. Some of these universal principles that we've read about and have learned to use, and that they serve us in so many ways. There may be a lot of subterfuge, a lot of distractions, and that a lot of interesting conversations, and maybe we participate in those, but we're able already to go to the core of the matter.
Yeah.
And see who's trying to win in an illusion. right? Any other comments? If not, we'll keep going. Is this a good speed to be going through this?
Yeah.
Guys? I'm
Yeah.
looking-
Yeah.
I like it.
Okay. I'm showing Kathleen as
Yep.
next reader.
At the beginning, then, the patient's goal and the therapist's are at variance. Therapist, as well as the patient, may cherish false concepts, but their respective perceptions of improvement still must differ. The patient hopes to learn how to get the changes he wants without changing his self-concept to any significant extent. He hopes, in fact, to stabilize it sufficiently to include within it the magical powers he seeks in psychotherapy. He wants to make the vulnerable invulnerable and the infinite limitless. The self he sees is his God, and he seeks only to serve it better.
Comments from anyone? Is anybody just confused?
I think sometimes it's important to change your self-concept. If you have a low self-concept, you may want to change it and make it a higher self-concept. And I think that helps in this process of healing, if you will.
And
Yeah.
if you have a really high self-concept, sometimes you have to be knocked down a peg or two to be at the right place, be humbled.
Would you say a true self-concept might be a precursor to awakening?
Yeah, absolutely.
But in response to Ron's comment, I'm in agreement. I think sometimes a person is so beaten down that his ego I think one's ego has to be built up before it can be taken down.
Well,
I think, you need a self-esteem, even ego-wise, before you are willing to look at it and let it go. That's my belief.
yeah, and that is true for a lot of people, but I know I work with a lot of women in recovery, and we have that face of innocence and we think we're wonderful, and we can't even imagine that we actually caused the rift with
Yeah.
our spouse, and the self-image is unrealistically high. So I think it can go both ways, but
The innocent perception that Jesus talks about in the Course, remember, wasn't that in the text about oh, it's not me. I'm just a victim of all these terrible things. It's not my fault. I'm innocent. So,
But if you really, I still think, I mean, to me, what Pat is describing is once you've got a good sense of self-worth. But before, if you don't have that yet, I do think that needs to be built up. You do need to feel good about yourself, and usually it's your ego self, before you could see that it's not your true self. I just think you can't skip that step.
yeah.
well, I think it can go from either extreme, and we got to get to the middle, is all I'm saying.
Yeah.
So would you say that a good psychotherapist, whether a professional in a white coat or the guy behind the counter at the meat market, can, because of their true self-concept, can determine psychotherapy with you? Does it involve bringing the ego down, or does it first need some building up to give you strength enough to even work with me?
Yeah.
Yeah.
How many of you read Power versus Force? Have you ever heard of that book?
Yep.
Okay, I'm gonna try and keep it short. The point is, based on kinesiology and strength testing, anger is higher on the strength chart than depression.
Mhm.
It takes energy to be angry, but there are levels below anger that says the energy is just so depleted that maybe I first need to get you up to angry. Do you see what I mean? Is that?
Yeah.
Okay. So a good therapist has a good sense of where to start
Mm-hmm.
and respects an assessment of where the patient is as far as true concept. Their concept is way below true concept. On the other hand, it may be so arrogant that it's way above. But this is where we're trying to get, is to self-concept. Any other comments from anyone? Then we're up to Kathleen, aren't we?
No, I just read.
Kathleen just read. Gina?
All right, and we're on number 4, right?
Yes.
Regardless of how sincere the therapist himself may be, he must want to change the patient's self-concept in some way that he believes is real. The task of therapy is one of reconciling these differences. Hopefully, both will learn to give up their original goals, for it is only in relationships that salvation can be found. At the beginning, it is inevitable that patients and therapists alike accept unrealistic goals, not completely free of magical overtone. They are finally given up in the minds of both.
Thanks, Gina. Somebody help me out here. You folks that know this already. Somebody step up and help us out with this one. I don't get it. Oh, wow. Then maybe we need to look at it together. Are there any?
Well, the first sentence, Jim, regardless of how sincere the therapist himself may be, he must want to change the patient's self-concept in some way that he believes is real.
Yeah,
So the therapist has to give that up.
So what are you saying, Joan? Like, that implies that the therapist knows what is real?
He thinks he knows.
Yeah. But the sessions may end up impacting the therapist's assessment of reality as well.
As well as the patient.
Thank you, Joan. That's so good. That helps me. Kathleen?
I think in that sentence, the last he refers to the patient. In essence, what they're saying, for the therapist to be a good therapist, the therapist has to meet the patient at his level and then start to change, and then start working with the patient to start changing the way he looks at himself.
Can you start by quoting the sentence that you're talking about?
Sure. The first sentence where it says, regardless of how sincere the
Yes.
therapist himself may be, he wants to change the patient's self-concept in some way that he believes is real. The task of therapy is one of reconciling the differences.
But who is he? That's what you were pointing
Yeah,
out.
I think the last he believes as to some way that it's working with the patient so that he gets a grasp, so he he's able to get a grasp of who he is. And I can only give you an example. When I first started therapy, I had a therapist, and I was a negative person. Anything that you said to me, I could turn it into negativity. And she said to me, Kathleen, I must tell you, you can turn a positive into a negative faster than anybody I have ever seen in my whole entire career. And it was making a joke out of it, but it was making a point of, yeah, I see you, but I see this is what you're doing. I see where you're at and I see what you're doing, and now we'll work on how we're going to change this.
No, good testimonial there. But I want to make sure we're all clear. Do you see the pronoun he? It says, regardless of how sincere the therapist himself may be, is it the therapist must want to change the patient's self-concept in some way that
the patient
therapist believes is real?
No, I believe it's the patient. The first he, okay, I'll read that. Okay, regardless,
It's a therapist.
the therapist may be, the therapist must want to change the patient's self-concept in some way that the patient believes is real.
And Jones says in some way that the therapist
Therapist, I see it as a therapist.
I love this. Really, yeah. So what should we, let's see if we can fill in some more. The task of therapy is one of reconciling these differences. What are the differences? That pronoun he is key so far.
Yeah, I think the difference is the patient has one concept and the therapist has another concept. So it's the therapist, a true therapist will bring the patients, will help the client realize how his concept is out of whack. It's a matter of, and it's not a matter of one being right and one being wrong. It's coming to a place where you both can see the mutual agreement of where the patient is.
And so I think there is a resolution, because in sentence 3,
yeah,
hopefully both will learn to give up their original goals, for it is only in relationships that salvation can be found.
Right. And I can give you an example. Today I started with this new therapist who is a health psychologist, and she's doing her fellowship. And I was very honest with her, sharing about the Course in Miracles. I was very honest sharing with her about how I channel. I was very honest in giving her all these things. And she said, I'm very appreciative because I'm learning. She said, I like doing this because I like to see how every patient has a different way of coming to the same conclusion.
Is that right?
And that's exactly what they're saying is, everyone, you have to look to see how people work and then come to that same place. It's like being on the ride at the carnival, that big ship that swings from one side and swings way to the other side and then eventually ends up in the middle. That's all that therapy is.
So it says, for it is only in relationships that salvation can be found. Somebody speak to that. What does he mean?
I think he's saying it's only in a holy relationship that salvation can be found.
Yeah, he may be saying unholy ones too.
Mm-hmm.
Because a lot of times you only find what you want by discovering what you don't want.
Right.
So it may be an interim step for the unholy ones, but they'll all end up in the same place Isn't that what he said? This is A Course in Miracles. It's one version, but they all lead to the same place in the end. By the way, if you want to learn a lot really fast, be in an intimate relationship. Have any of you found that? Your marriage partner will be your best, most expeditious teacher. Maybe not in all cases, but that's what came to me. At the end, it says, they are finally given up in the minds of both. What's given up?
The unrealistic goals.
The illusion.
But then he says, not completely free of magical overtones. What are the magical overtones? Did he mention that before about magic, right?
That's where I was coming from, that if it's a sincere therapist, it's a holy relationship.
Right.
That's where I was coming from, that with that.
You're saying the
Unrealistic goals are of the ego.
Yes. And that can apply to both the therapist and the patient.
Right.
What I'm
Ideal-
go ahead,
Go
dear.
ahead. I was going to say, idealistically, you want to have a therapist who's in therapy.
I love that.
You know, who's able to look at herself and see what's her perception and what is her, how, it's, what in her is influencing how she gives therapy.
What I'm seeing, bottom line, is we need two open-minded people that surrender to the real therapist. I'll take the role of the therapist. You take the role of the patient. But the real therapy is being done by the one that we both agree to let it be done. Yeah, Kathleen, it's good. Hilda, what do you think?
Well, I kind of probably look at this in some different ways. And I'm thinking that we're talking about like different levels of therapy, really, because the real therapy comes between your spiritual self or your guide and yourself. And when they're talking here about the therapist and the patient, you're talking about the earthly qualities of both, and one thinks he's better or more informed or more intelligent than the other one. And when in reality, the therapist is probably learning as much as quote unquote the patient does, because each person is different and each person is on a different path, and only if you find a commonality between the two people, you encourage each other you encourage each other to come to the same conclusion, and that would be that you need a guide which is beyond both of you.
Yeah. That's that holy relationship, isn't it?
Right.
And so whether it's easy or hard, if I'm willing to come to a true concept, that's the therapist's role to help me with. Once again, the question, folks, who's the therapist?
Mhm.
If all therapy is psychotherapy, then who performs it? You have to go like and make an appointment at with the shrink or to be what do they call it, talk therapy sessions. Is that where psychotherapy goes on?
Not only.
No, it goes on. It goes on in many places. It can go. It in therapy could go on in a conversation with another person.
Yeah, that
It-
I'm only
It's not
reiterating.
formalized, but it's sharing an experience and realizing and helping. It's sharing an experience and hopefully becoming enlightened by that experience.
And so again, yes, absolutely. Just making the point again that we're using the term psychotherapy in a very global way, not just as a profession, right?
Right.
Mhm.
Okay, so that's the scope of this book. And thank you all for helping me with that paragraph with a little coaxing. I certainly appreciate it. Dee, you're our next reader, and we're on page 5 now, right?
Well, for me, it's 9, but we're there. The
Oops.
limits on psychotherapy. Yet the ideal outcome is rarely achieved. Therapy begins with the realization that healing is of the mind. And in psychotherapy, those have come together who already believe this. It may be they will not get much further, for no one learns beyond his own readiness. Yet levels of readiness change. And when therapist or patient has reached the next one, there will be a relationship held out to them that meets the changing need. Perhaps they will come together again and advance in the same relationship, making it holier. Or perhaps each of them will enter into another commitment. Be assured of this: each will progress. Retrogression is temporary. The overall direction is one of progress toward the truth.
Yeah, but what if you're in a hurry?
Well, and also sentence 2 says
Paying a lot of
therapy
money for
begins
this
with
stuff.
the realization that the healing of the mind in psychotherapy, those have come together who already believe this. I don't know if you start out in psychotherapy believing that.
I'm sorry, where does it say oh yeah, those who have
Sentence 2.
together who already believe this, right?
Yeah.
But how many times does that happen? Well, I'm thinking now professionally. Every time. Doesn't he explain that? It may not seem like it's the right time, but they're all seeds being planted toward the right time. So even if it's the wrong time, quote unquote, you with me, everybody?
Mm-hmm.
In the course, my favorite one says, what could you not accept if you but knew that all events, past, present, and to come, have been planned by one whose only purpose is your good? So maybe this time it didn't work out. Was that a bad thing? No, you weren't ready at that time. It may take you 10 steps, whereas it took another brother or sister 8 or 100.
Mm-hmm.
It's an individual path. So isn't that what he just kind of says, like perhaps they will come together again and advance, you see sentence 5, or perhaps each of them will enter into another commitment. It may take a long time, it may take a short time, but I can assure you all roads lead to the same place in the end. Well, why did you make mine take so long? Well, the Holy Spirit says, look, dude, I'm love. I had to go along with your willingness. I had to meet you where you were. I have to respect your free will. So you needed 20 steps instead of 5. What's the big deal? It's not like there's really time. Time is okay. So I've got the illusion to play around with, but one of the things I cannot do is be what I'm not. And I'm always respecting free will, which is the hallmark of love. How can love be pushy? How can it be oppressive and be itself?
Mm.
So I'm saying, even though it looks like it, rest assured, take it easy. What did we always say last night? A sense of leisure is essential for this process. So minimize your disappointments or try and get rid of them, knowing that everything is for your good. Comment? Is that
I
like
agree that
for
everything
good
is for
or
you
okay? Go
good,
ahead.
but until we're aware of that, but you know, like you said, you can't force somebody. I mean, I couldn't be forced to have that realization. It's a process.
It's not loving.
And the process is the last sentence. The overall direction is one of progress toward the truth,
Right.
whether we realize it or not.
Hey, I'm doing pretty good. This is my first time through. I feel like I'm doing it okay. Who's our next reader, please?
I think I am.
Yeah. Thanks, Joe. Paragraph 2.
Ooh.
Mhm.
Psychotherapy itself cannot be creative. This is one of the errors which the ego fosters, that it is capable of true change and therefore of true creativity. When we speak of the saving illusion or the final dream, this is not what we mean, but here is the ego's last defense. Resistance is its way of looking at things, its interpretation of progress and growth. These interpretations will be wrong of necessity because they are delusional. The changes the ego seeks to make are not really changes. They are but deeper shadows, or perhaps different cloud patterns. Yet what is made of nothingness cannot be called new or different. Illusions are illusions. Truth is truth. Wow.
Wow, what? It's deep stuff. Anything, what was the wow factor in this for you? Can you pick out any one sentence or just the whole thing?
Looking at with the ego is thinks it's capable of true change, but it's not. Psychotherapy is not for the ego.
What sentence are you reading, or are you reading a sentence?
Well, basically sentence 2.
Okay, I'm with you. This is one of the errors which the ego fosters. What is? That it is capable of
Creativity.
true change and therefore of true creativity.
Mhm. And further down in sentence 6, it says, the changes the ego seeks to make are not really changes. They are but deeper shadows
Yeah.
or different cloud patterns.
And that reminds me before where it talked about just giving you another illusion. You remember earlier on when it said a lot of times the patient is seeking a better illusion?
Yeah.
And if illusions aren't true, how can they change reality at all? Isn't that what he's getting at here? Illusions are illusions. Truth is truth. There's nothing new under the sun. There's only one truth. It's always been, and it will forever be because of the inherent quality of truth. What is that inherent quality that makes the truth true?
It never
That we
changed.
can't change it.
Yay! Yeah, I remember Earth School in that section. There's nothing like the truth. Nothing can assail it. Nothing can change it. And it doesn't have to do anything but be itself. It doesn't have to protect itself or any of that. Is that the flavor of what we're hearing here?
Yes.
Psychotherapy cannot be creative. All psychotherapy can possibly do is remove the blocks to the awareness of love's presence. Or is that just me? Do you see it's the same process? It's all undoing. It's not making something new, is it?
Mm-mm.
Yeah, somebody else say something.
Illusions can change or do change all the
Just don't
time.
call you. I'm sorry. Go ahead. Go ahead, sir.
I see that in my thought system that illusions do change and they can change all the time, but the truth will never change.
So what are you gonna do? Fight it? Who in their right mind would fight the truth?
Nobody.
In their right mind. But that's the purpose of psychotherapy, isn't it? A move to right-mindedness. Here it's called true self-concept. In the back, before they called it right-mindedness. And right-mindedness or true self-concept puts us at heaven's gate. It doesn't take us all the way, but it points us in the right direction so strong that we're almost awakened. We've got one more pair, I'm sorry, two. Let's see if we can finish, if that's all right. I believe, Ron, you're our next reader, and we're
Yes,
paragraph 3.
yes. Resistance, as defined here, can be characteristic of a therapist as well as of a patient. Either way, it sets a limit on psychotherapy because it restricts its aims. Nor can the Holy Spirit fight against the intrusions of the ego on the therapeutic process. But he will wait, and his patience is infinite. His goal is holy, undivided, always. Whatever resolutions patients and therapists reach in connection with their own divergent goals, they cannot become completely reconciled as one until they join with his, capital H. Only then is all conflict over, for only then can there be certainty.
Thanks. And Christine, would you do paragraph 4, and then we'll
Yes.
sum up the whole thing here?
Yes.
overnight?
Ideally, psychotherapy is a series of holy encounters in which brothers meet to bless each other and to receive the peace of God. And this will one day come to pass forever. For every patient on the face of this earth, for who except a patient could possibly have come here. The therapist is only a somewhat more specialized teacher of God. He learned through teaching, and the more advanced he is, the more he teaches and the more he learns. But whatever stage he is in, there are patients who need him just that way. They cannot take more than he can give for now, yet both will find sanity at last.
Thanks, Christy. That was good.
That was great.
I read the words in the course, and there's just this supernatural. I keep going, what a great writer. And like a lot of the writing, it's, it's sophisticated, it's educated, but the points are clear and consistent. And then he appeals to the emotions too, because the language is often so beautiful, not just empirical, but beautiful as well. We were reading last night on ACIM Talks from Paramahansa Yogananda, and he was the chapter where he was talking about the first time he really left his body and had this cosmic consciousness experience. And the experience was wild enough, but the words he used were beautiful, extraordinary, out of this world, like they were given to him, like Helen's writings, Anyhow, comments on paragraphs 3 or 4.
Well, both the patient's goal and the therapist's goals have to be reconciled with the Holy Spirit, who is the ultimate therapist.
Yeah. Isn't that the same holy relationship he describes in the text starting around chapter 14, where he talks about special relationships versus holy relationships? And so I'm looking for this woman that's gonna show up one day and be my partner as we surrender to Spirit, the real therapist for us all. And boy, that's going to be an awesome relationship. Or it may come from some dude down the street. That's not up to me. That's not up to me. I hope we did justice here tonight. And I think we're finished for this evening, except oh boy, we didn't even get to letter C, did we, on page 6?
Yeah.
All
Can
right.
we do that next week and not skip over it?
Oh, absolutely. I'm planning
Right.
to, if that's okay with everyone.
Yeah.
Well, I'm remiss that I wasn't aware of it on tonight's agenda, but we wouldn't have gotten to it anyway, the way we go, right?
Yeah, I'd rather go with this pace. It's great.
Yeah, I like the pace too. So we'll put that on for next week and see where Spirit leads. Are there any other final comments, my friends?
No, just one thing. I did listen to most of your recording from your session last night.
Oh,
And, and I found it most, for me, most interesting. And I did, you know, I'm going to listen to it again because of course a lot is new to me, but I found it very interesting and informative.
Thank you, Christine.
Yes.
And yeah, we take some deep dives on Monday evenings in kind of an unorthodox way. So thank you for that positive testimonial.
Yeah, and I do appreciate the recording so that we can go back and, you know,
good.
And then when you listen, then you hear something you didn't hear the first time.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. Now, listen, we're a small group on Monday, so I'm advertising. Anybody that wants to join us, send me an email and I'll get you on the list, okay? Also, I'm glad you have the recordings. Sometimes I like it because I think I said some deep stuff, but now I got the recording to double check. Let's see, Hilda, are you ready? Please.
I am ready. The light of God surrounds us. The love of God enfolds us. The power of God protects us. The presence of God watches over us. Wherever we are, God is. I am the light of God. I am the love of God. I am the power of God. I am the presence of God. Therefore, wherever I am, God is, and all is well. There is nothing to fear. There is only love. Namaste.
Namaste. Thank you so much. I wish you a good week, the rest of it. Join me Sunday in Lansing if you can, and namaste.
You'll do great someday.
Good luck next week,
Thank
Jim.
you.
Thank you, Jim. Have a blessed week, everybody.
Thank you.
Yeah,
You
you
too.
too.
Break a leg, Jim.
Yeah.
Will do.